to accept as written?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay.
I need a motion, or a vote, for motion.
Vote for a motion,
Vote,
all
all in
acceptance,
favor.
all in favor. Raise your hand. Okay, the next thing on the agenda this afternoon is a motion to accept application for the Briarwood Commons rezoning application acceptance. And this is on the R2 for residential. So I would need somebody to make a motion to accept that.
I make a motion that we accept it.
A second?
I second.
All in favor? Raise hand. Now do we discuss, or we discuss that? Oh, motion carried, okay.
You can do it on
All right, the second thing on the agenda is the Briarwood Commons rezoning application for the TNC application for acceptance. So I need a motion to accept that application.
I make a motion to accept the application.
Okay, second.
Second.
Any comments, discussion amongst council, questions? Okay, everybody in favor, raise hand.
Are you raising
No. I hadn't had time to review this, I'm sorry, because we just got it a couple weeks ago, and my mother's been very ill, and I haven't had a chance to really look over even the application, so.
Motion carried. All right.
Yeah. Okay, now we're going to go into the public hearing part of our meeting that concerns the Briarwood Commons rezoning applications. And I need to read this page to everybody. It'll take me just a few minutes. I hope everybody can hear me. Or would y'all rather me stand and read this? Stand? Okay, I'm gonna stand. Rezoning public hearing requirements. The mayor shall indicate that a public hearing has been called for the consideration of zoning decisions, which I just did. Poll the members of the town council as to conflicts of interest with the proposed zoning decision. Does anybody here have any conflict of interest? Clay? Keith? I don't have a conflict.
No.
Okay, and Wendell is not here to speak. Poll the applicant and person speaking in opposition to the proposed zoning decision as to any campaign contributions that they have made to the members of the town council and the mayor within the past 2 years immediately preceding this filing of the petition or application for the proposed zoning decision. Poll of applicant. Who's the applicant?
Right here. There. I've given no funds or donations in kind to anyone on this board or the mayor.
Okay. Anybody speaking in opposition, raise your hand. Anybody made any campaign contributions to, okay. The next part is, the mayor may ask for a show of hands for those persons who appear in support of opposition to the petition. If it appears that the number of persons wishing to appear in support of opposition to the petition is in excess of that which may reasonably be heard, the mayor may request that the spokesman for the group be chosen so that the entire presentation of the positions of those in support of opposition to the petition shall not exceed 20 minutes. The proponents of the proposed zoning petition shall have a minimum of 10 minutes collectively for the presentation of data, evidence, and opinion, provided, however, that such presentation shall not exceed 20 minutes in length, unless the mayor allows the proponents additional time for presentation. The opponents of the proposed zoning petition shall have a minimum of 10 minutes collectively for the presentation of data, evidence, and opinion, provided, however, that such presentation shall not exceed 20 minutes in length, unless the mayor allows the opponents additional time for presentation. The applicant for the zoning amendment shall be allowed for a short opportunity, the rebuttal and final comments. After the above procedures have been completed, the mayor will indicate that the public hearing is formally closed. So at this point, I guess we want to see or ask, since there's a big showing tonight, I'm assuming that most of you are either here for the Briarwood or the Oak Hall. And I would like to see people in favor, hands.
In favor of the,
In favor of the rezoning to happen,
okay.
that you want it to happen. Okay. And then people that are in opposition, you don't want it to happen.
What about people in the middle?
Celine, can I ask something?
After we hear him speak.
So he needs to go first? Okay.
Celine, I think a lot of people are here to get information so they will know.
Inform.
Yeah, so I think that's more the intent right now.
Okay. Well, I just needed to give those people time, or the position to be able to voice what they wanted to. So, Mr. Brewer, if you would like to come up.
Have we opened the public hearing officially? Thank you very much. For the members of the town council, is this close enough for you to see? Is this something that you can see? And I don't know if I can share it with you and the audience. That's the trouble.
We have a copy.
Yeah, okay, if I could, would it be okay to help the audience in that manner? Thank you very much. Try to get out of some of your way. My name is Dennis Druyer. I live at 15 Woodridge Place in Newton, Georgia, in Coweta County. I'm a land planner and zoning facilitator, and I've been practicing in the state of Georgia since 1971. I have over 44 years of experience designing land plans, presenting them to various jurisdictions, and I'm also a registered landscape architect, so I do landscape plans for municipalities, individuals, and regional. I'm here tonight representing the Briarwood Commons, which I describe as a mixed-use product with a commercial village at the front, residential at the back, leading to an already approved residential community in the town of Turin. However, vehicular access is not available from Turin. This is the front door for the project. No one will be taking shortcuts through here. If I may point to this very briefly, this is Highway 54. The bridge goes over about here down to the intersection. This is the main entrance. This is a commercial shops and cafes, coffee shops, commercial shops, potentially offices. This is to be zoned commercial, but without the visibility from Highway 54, it's likely that this will not be as commercial as it will be medical office or a really good location for a daycare center. We don't feel commercially that this will sell for the value that any of this would because of visibility. We have designed a boulevard type road. It does not have a center island, but the right of way is 80 feet. They'll have turning lanes and XL, decel lanes. We have met with, I'm going to get out of order a little bit, we met with the Department of Transportation. We have more than adequate sight distance, more than adequate separation from the new bridge, that this is a very safe location that will not require a traffic light. They may, as we develop, dictate whether or not we need a left turn lane going south on 54 to stop to go in here. And of course, we'd be willing to build that extra lane. Right now, they don't see a need for it, but if it develops, that would be a responsibility of the developer, not the town of Sharpsburg. As you get through the commercial district, which is less than 10 acres, this is only an 18-acre project, leading to approximately 60 to 67 lots in Turin. This is the residential element here. On a previous drawing that we did about 4 years ago, we had a different category in the town of Sharpsburg that allowed for loft apartments and even duplexes, which we kind of kiddingly call paired villas. They're still duplexes. They aren't really the top value that we would introduce into Sharpsburg. This zoning doesn't permit that. We're asking for TNC here, traditional neighborhood commercial, and R2 here, single family lots. The required minimum house size here is only 1,650 square feet houses. We're promising 2,200 to 2,400 square foot houses Our target price, and let me explain that carefully, we can't guarantee any price. Our target price is $300,000. We're gonna have trouble selling the first ones for $275 or $260 because there are no comparable prices in that range. We think that the materials, the square footage, masonry product, and a craftsman style, which we have promised, and the town planner has made a condition of zoning, will draw those kind of prices. We have 3 local builders who build an excellent home in the 280 to 580 range. We're not going to get that high here. I don't want to promise you that. That want to be here and are interested in building the lots in Turin. This lot, this Turin property goes down and has a turnaround circle. It's not really a circle. The neighborhood has streets that will let you come back out again, but this is the point of access. There's no cut through. There's no going over the railroad tracks. We're going to have a pedestrian trail system that connects these shops to these houses and these houses. We're going to have green space included in the overall picture, and we're being held to a, in the county they call it quality development corridor. I don't know if we have the same terminology here. Our landscaping will be beyond typical commercial landscaping. Instead of a 10-foot landscape strip, we have to provide 50 feet in front of this commercial on Highway 54. It has to be landscaped. It has to be sodded. It has to have trees, shrubs. We're going to have low-growing shrubs that you can see over and canopied trees that you can see under for safety in this area leaving the property. For safety in this area, leaving or entering the commercial shops. So that's how you design a boulevard, is with landscape treatment on the sides. There are to be sidewalks on both sides of all the interior roads. We're connecting to a sidewalk system and a soft path system with my design in Turin. So we're going to have the ability, if you wanted to go over and park your car at the shops, you could take a walk through this entire neighborhood. These are publicly dedicated streets. This is not a private community in such that the roads here will belong to Sharpsburg and here will belong to Turin. They're public. So you could walk, you could ride your bike, you could do all these things here. You're not kept out of here. It's not a gated community, unless everyone in there requested of somebody that they could gate it, and that's not reasonable for fire and safety access. So I think this would be a real asset to our town here in Sharpsburg and to Turin, where it's already zoned R20, which is single-family residential with the same size houses and the same size lots. I probably covered some of this already, but I want to make sure. Mr. Joe Walter of Precision Planning has given the council a report on every checklist item from planning concepts and approval as it relates to the Coweta County Master Plan, the Comprehensive Land Use Plan, and the Town of Sharpsburg's proposed comprehensive plan, and it has been approved, and he recommends certain conditions of zoning for the residential and for the commercial. I would like to ask the Mayor Pro-tem, are we discussing now both zonings together, the commercial and the residential?
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to go through this twice, you'll be tired of me talking. But that's what I'd hope, because it is a mixed-use plan, but only 10 acres, less than 10 acres can be residential by their zoning ordinance, and we have another 9 acres commercial. It does meet the comprehensive land use plan of Coweta County. We're adopting quality development corridor requirements. The shops will have to be made out of masonry products. This will not be stucco and glass. This will not be vinyl siding. This will have architectural character. This will have brick masonry, stone masonry, cultured rock, real rock. That's a requirement of this district and a requirement that their planner, Precision Planning, put on one of our conditions of approval. I mentioned that Turin is going to have between 60 and 67 lots. We don't know that answer until we design it, we engineer it, and know how much stormwater management we have to put in for all the runoff to protect the state waters. State waters are streams that exist today. The state has taken possession of everybody's property that owns a creek. They're saying that 50 feet from the banks of that creek belongs to the state. You can't touch it. We can't take the trees down or anything. That's fine with us. Then the next 25 feet, you can clear it and have stormwater management ponds, dry ponds in it, but you can't build in it. So that's a condition. We have streams that come through the property and come together down here at a pond that was accidentally built on our property by a neighbor, but that doesn't have to go away, it's okay. So we have natural buffers on streams. We have to have a 30-foot buffer around the entire perimeter of our property. And as I mentioned before, we have to have a 50-foot landscape setback on the street frontage. DOT that we talked to about traffic is not an impact factor here. They said it's less than 1% of the total traffic in here, and they realized that the use of this is terminal. People will be going in and coming out. They feel even when the roundabout is in place, and I know you're not all in favor of the roundabout. I've had good experience with roundabouts. I've designed 3 or 4 of them that today work very well, but that's a different issue. You may not want it, you may want it. They're saying that most of our traffic is going to go north. They're not going to want to get involved in the 4-way stop or the roundabout to get to Peachtree City, to get to Interstate 85, or to get to shopping and grocery. That they had approximately 78% of our traffic will go north on 54. That'll be a right turn lane, no crossing of traffic either. They are the specialists at this. I rely on their advice, and we paid to have them do a study so that we could quote these things. The schools, there'll be little or no impact on the schools. In fact, there's going to be approximately 8 students created out of the 60 lots and the 12 lots each year for 5 years. So that would be 40 students, but that's in all grades. And they do those numbers from a formula. So you could have some family that comes in with 8 children and some families that come in with no children. We're aiming at families with 1 or 2 or no children, in that we have a smaller typical lot than you have in Coweta County. We think that this is an ideal smart growth location where we can put more lots in one area rather than spread numerous lots at 2 acres each over a wide area and have to have more roads that the county maintains or Sharpsburg maintains, stretching the sewer lines, the water lines. There's not much sewer in county water lines. So we think that this is going to have a lower yield of children, but I'm quoting you what the typical charts told us from the school board. Their comment was, we're ready for these children if you let us know what your schedule is, when you're going to be building and breaking ground. So it's going to be probably a 5-year build out for these homes, and 8 students a year, it'd be about 40 students. I'm going to say more or less. On the water issue, this will be a new base of water customers for the town of Turin if they come through and sign a water agreement with the town of Sharpsburg. I will not step into that, but there's some problems there. We need Sharpsburg to get a signed water agreement. We need it soon because we couldn't develop another property in Sharpsburg because we have no water agreement and another quality development. So I'm saying that it'll either come from Turin, this will be wonderful new customers, commercial and residential for Turin, or the Coweta County water system if Turin fails to come along and have a reasonable contract with the town of Sharpsburg. I think it should be a prime interest with the town of Sharpsburg to get that resolved. I know the mayor and probably the mayor pro-tem have worked very hard on this, and they cannot get a signed agreement out of the other side. So they've been talking to the county and letting them know exactly what's going on. As for sewer, we have to have sewer to do this. We have to have decentralized sewer, which is a sewer system that each house has a sewer tank, a septic tank. But the water is taken to one location and cleaned and then put on good soils, cleaned. It's put in the ground, under the ground. It's not sprayed on top of the ground. It doesn't have any odor or anything. There's a water cleaning station that sends it to permeable soils. We don't have a lot of permeable soils here. However, in the commercial district, we do. We're negotiating with several landowners in this area and even across the state highways to provide the soils that we need for the residential. If we fail to provide that, we can't start. Our engineering plans won't be approved, so we can't turn a shovel full of dirt. So that's a very big responsibility for us to obtain that. Fortunately, there's a project coming along that I want you to watch from Sharpsburg's perspective. The 12 Parks property is probably going to come back to life up at McIntosh and 54 and beyond. And they have an approved sewer plant. The state of Georgia, and I guess whoever else, the environmental health people, have approved their sewer plant. So we're willing to join that effort, and we're willing to send our sewer to there. It will cost a lot of money, but it costs just as much money as building our own decentralized sewer system. I want you to know that the beautiful neighborhood at Oaks of Turin has a different kind of sewer system. I thought it had failed once. The residents there told me it didn't really fail, but I think Noonan Utilities runs it, takes good care of it. Ours is a little bit cleaner system. It's not a joint septic system. It's an area that all the solid waste stays on each lot, if you had any concerns about that. Again, it's required for us to solve that sewer source or we can't move forward. Environmentally, this will be the first project that ever provides stormwater management in this entire area for this entire watershed. We are required by the state of Georgia, the town of Sharpsburg and the town of Turin to put in stormwater management ponds so that water doesn't flow off of either the commercial or the residential at any faster speed than it does now. And in fact, we're going to be slowing it from what it does now. There is no protection now. And we have to have water quality ponds as well, so that before you get it into a pond that detains the water and lets it out slowly, you have to have a grass pond area that cleans the water before it gets in there. Double requirements by the state over what it was 5 years ago. As far as green space, I mentioned sidewalks and interconnecting paths. The interconnectivity with the shops in the housing in Turin is going to be ideal. And we're providing a soft path for the town of Turin's tractor to come from Jim Adamson's area, if you know where his landscaping is, up George Revelle Road to their water tower so he doesn't have to go on Highway 16 or 54, because that's what he has to do now, and that's very unsafe. So he's going to be coming through our neighborhood on our publicly dedicated streets, and we're going to give him a path to us and a path to the water tower that would be gated and locked. I think that's the least we could do for the water tower that may serve all of you. Economically, the projections on this are ideal. The landscape and streetscape and masonry theme is an expensive requirement, but that's how things should be done. It's called smart growth. It's called quality development corridor. We're happy to do that. The homes over 2,000 to 2,400 square feet, that's voluntary by us. They only have to be 1,650 square feet. We don't think that represents a house that is marketable or quality. The older homes that are that small are quality. Today, people are looking for all the bells and whistles and a little bit more space, even though we're targeting older people like me who don't want the big yard. They don't want all the maintenance. They may want to go play golf instead of mowing that lawn for hours. And yet, you don't have to buy there if you like the farmette or the 30 acres or the horses. You don't have to buy here. You don't have to go down our street. If you don't like craftsman-style garages, the carriage house doors and so forth, I told some people in Turin that I understand that they like a different lifestyle. They don't have to go in here. It's not a through road. They don't have to drive by it. It's going to be real quality, and the people who wish to live here are going to be looking for just those features. Economically, it'll be an increase in home values for this area. I've heard this referred to as teeny tiny lots and me as a salesman, and what I am is I'm a good planner. I'm not the best planner in the world. I learned from all the best planners in the world. I'm telling you that this is really good planning to protect the town of Sharpsburg. These are not mini lots. These lots are 20,000 square feet and up. These lots are what people are looking for quality homes, expensive homes, and smaller yards. We have green space in the backyards of all these homes, not more backyard. If you want a 1 acre lot, a 1.6 acre lot, you either have it in woods or you have to have a riding mower and your life is dedicated to that yard. This is not what this is. And I want to be open with you about that. You will gain fees for this town for every construction of every house, every permit, every inspection. The town of Sharpsburg will benefit from all that. The tax register, of course, will go to Coweta County. But I don't know if you know it or not, but splost tax money special purpose local option sales tax goes to each jurisdiction, whether it's Sharpsburg or Noonan, by population. Every time you can add more residents, but make sure it's quality, you get more SPLOST money for beautiful parks and gazebos and bandstands, for beautiful sidewalks where you don't have them, for improvements of all kinds. That comes free from the traveling public that pays SPLOST taxes. It comes to you by population. We'll be increasing your population. We'll be increasing the population of Turin. It will provide you with more funds for your budget. It's not a small issue. I ask that you, the town council members, forgive me for going on so long. I wanted to get as much said as I can so that there'll be questions that can be asked. I ask that you approve both of these zonings as a compatible zoning request, as a mixed-use village leading to another of similar product with quality guarantees. I have the recommendation of your planner in front of you in a report. We agree to the conditions that he places on these two zonings. They're on a particular page in your report from Joe Walters, your planner. We are not going to question any of the conditions, although some of them are quite tough. I want you to know that we will fulfill those. We can't move forward until we have everything in order and engineering plans in front of you. We can't take down a single tree or turn a shovel full of dirt without approval by this body right here and their consulting engineers and their planner. So you're very well protected. I hope that you'll have some questions for me, especially the town council members, and I'm quite willing to answer them or find the answers for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Now, anybody that wants to address Mr. Drewer about what he just presented, I would ask that you stand and state your name so that the clerk can record that information and go ahead and address him with any questions that you might have.
Yes. Bird.
Danny.
Okay, the normal procedure is for you to speak to the council and so forth. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Yeah, I'm Ann Hardy. As a resident, is there anything that we can do to help?
Yes, ma'am. We would enjoy your support.
Yes.
We would enjoy you telling your friends about it. I don't make any money on the house, or the sale of the lots, or the sale of the land, or the sale of the shops, or anything. But this is something that we want to be successful for the town. I believe we have this electronically. If this passes tonight, I do not want to assume for a second that this is going to pass. If this passes tonight, we will provide any of you that ask with an electronic version of this to share. An electronic version that you can study closer and possibly call me with any questions, even if it's already passed. If you have any ideas that you want to change, or you have shop owners that you'd like to bring to Sharpsburg, we want to get enough money going here that our old shops are renovated in downtown Sharpsburg, that they have all the facilities that they need, that this is a compatible village of shops as well, and make Sharpsburg a place to come for a festival, which is happening all over the state. We want this to be, well, I remember coming to festivals in downtown Sharpsburg, and I think this would be a real complement, a real annex for that. The homes are going to be spectacular. I don't believe I'll be able to afford one, but it would be a wonderful place to live. Thank you for your question. Yes, sir?
Dennis and David Mullins over 54. Question, with the sewer and systems you're talking about being a little bit up in the air with some land Turin has and possibly this other party on McIntosh 54, what are you looking, that has to be done before you do any of this, what are you looking at for time projections, would you say? I mean, you can't speak exactly because you're in the middle of this, but what do you think you're looking at as far as time to do that? In other words, lay the ground literally and figuratively before you can do that, if this is approved.
That's a very professional question, as a developer would ask. We've had our hands tied because we aren't approved yet. We had our hands tied in Turin for 5.5 years because we weren't approved yet. So we can't tell anybody with sewer capability or good soils how much we need. We couldn't tell anyone. We now have approval for 60 to 67 lots in Turin. We have application here for 10 to 12 lots in Sharpsburg. This is all depending, if I have to lose a lot because I need a stormwater management pond, I lose a lot. I don't make the lots smaller to fit in a stormwater management pond. There's a minimum size on all the lots. So when we're approved will be the first time scientifically our engineer can put a preliminary plat, engineered plat, this is my hand-drawn plat, an engineered plat on paper, knowing where the stream valleys are, knowing what the topo is. We know the topo, he'll have to engineer it to the roads. Knowing how much green space we have to have, I wanted to explain to you that there's 35% green space, 15% green space in Turin, and I've shown just as much in Sharpsburg. If we design all the lots we want and we come out with 10% green space, we gotta take some lots out. We have to have 15% green space, so we can't do that yet. We don't know. If we were to say I need 27 acres of good soils, I'd be guessing. You might need an acre for every 10 houses of good soils. I don't know how many houses I'm gonna have. Then the commercial value, not value, coefficient, how many square feet we fit on our engineered drawing. It may not be as many shops as that. I need to know what that is to know how much sewer I need. If I'm going to send my sewer from the county right away on 54 up to McIntosh Trail to the 12 Parks Sewer Treatment Center, I gotta know how much sewer capacity I'm paying for. And then I'll know how much that line costs, because that's what's called a force main. You have to force the water uphill. We learned in the development that water only goes downhill. So that's expensive, but worth doing. It's a very clean
You're looking at a
solution.
couple of years or something like that?
No, I think, no. My owner will be broke in a couple of years. He's been on it for 5.5 or 6 years. This is something that we'll have figured out and designed in less than a year. But we have to finish our engineering. We aren't approved yet. Please, I'm not jumping the gun here. We have to finish our design and get it in front of the people who review those designs and move quickly, but still move by these standards. Good question. Ms. Polly?
Polly Garlington, I live at 154 Main Street, Sharpsburg. The main thing that's bothered me from the very beginning, even when they were talking about it over in Turin, is the traffic in one exit to that. And I live where I can see the traffic on the 1654 intersection backed up, where I can see it from my front porch many a time. And with only 2 lanes of traffic, I can't see how that's not going to get bogged down and people couldn't get in or out for a long time, in particular emergency vehicles. I mean, you say it's going to be old people. They're going to need some of that.
Yes, ma'am. That's a good question, but the 2 lanes of traffic for this are much more than adequate. The number of lanes on 54 and the we have to build acceleration lanes going north and deceleration lanes coming into this property from the south. They're probably going to say, we want an extra lane coming down the hill so that people who are going to turn left can stop and the others can go by them. That's called a left turn lane. So you don't rear end somebody who all of a sudden remembers their home and they got to stop real quick. Your question is very good, but that's why we went to DOT and had them study this. They see no perceptive impact.
They don't live where I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you add the Turin,
Ma'am?
excuse me, Mary Fowler, did you add the Turin lots to that when the DOT?
Yes, ma'am.
did that?
Yes, ma'am. We had to have them look at the entire picture. Yes, ma'am.
Also, who services this for fire and policing?
Same as Sharpsburg, same as Turin, it's Collier County, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, but where are they located? Because we have a development near us that we finally have facilities out there, but when it was first built, we had a policeman wait 13 minutes for backup because it had to come from Noonan.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a long time.
The backup is a problem of its own.
Fire was a long way away.
Yes, ma'am. The backup is a problem of coverage and funds for the county.
This was Noonan, city of Noonan.
Yeah, well, the primary service is adequate here. We had to have all that checked. The primary service here on fire, police, which is actually sheriff in this area, and public safety, which would include we have state police on both highways. By the way, DOT controls anything that happens on 54 and anything that happens on 16.
So Sharpsburg is not going to develop a police department too?
Do what?
Sharpsburg is not going to start policing so that they can take care of their own here.
Oh, I don't think we have the budget for that. Well, I mean, if at some point that was in the best interest of the safety of Sharpsburg, they will.
Okay.
That's what they do. If it was proven that their budget could handle it, and that it was in the best interest to have your own people here, I shouldn't say this, we shouldn't become a Grantville, but we should have our own services that we need.
Yeah, I had a question. I'm John Daly. I live in Sharpsburg, but I'm outside of the incorporated area. We spoke earlier.
Yes, sir.
And you were saying that you communicated with the fire and the sheriff's department and so forth about this. Have they been able to look at the entire project and give comments relative not just to this, but also the Turin side of the development?
Good question. I had to start with the entire project, not knowing if this would ever be approved, because I had to get Turin approved through this entrance.
Sure.
Turin questioned whether they'd be able to work with the town of Sharpsburg having a shared entrance. And I said, that is not going to be a problem, because it's in everybody's best interest that this be first class, high quality materials, safe, large enough, and if there was a requirement for a traffic light there, together they could force a traffic light there. So I went to DOT with the entire plan. I even included this property here, which belonged to the Johnson family, and now it's in the name of Chambliss. I did not ask them to promote my property. I asked them if at some time they wanted to connect to my property. I asked them if they wanted this road to come up and go through their property. If they wanted to help build a little bit of the road, they would get the intersection. I told them I was probably going to do this, and I would have availability for them to have interconnectivity, so you don't come out of this side and go into that side, and come out of that side and go into that side. There would be interconnectivity. They were very open to it all, but not at this time, because Mrs. Johnson is still alive, and she doesn't want a tree touched or a flower bed, and I agree with that, on her properties, whether she still owns them or not, and that's only fair. I think she's a wonderful, classy woman, and they don't want to upset her with the question of doing anything like that. I think that's the way to handle it.
Getting back to the fire department, because that's where my expertise is. in
Yes, sir.
particular. Along with these few houses here, a little bit of commercial, plus the 69 you said in Turin?
65 to 67,
Okay.
depending on the
But
story.
have they reviewed all that and said,
Yes,
you know, this?
I had to turn the whole plan in, and I designed this as a commercial shopping center.
Yes, sir.
It's rural right now,
Yeah.
and it belongs to Chambliss. And I
Okay.
shared that here with the town, to say this could happen, it's in Sharpsburg, but it isn't zoned.
Mhm.
I did that, what if?
Yeah.
What would the impact be for DOT first, and for fire and sheriff second? We don't have room for a grocery. It'd be a great place for a grocery over on our Oak Hall property. We have designed for a grocery. That's how you can help, young lady. If we could get a grocery store here that isn't secondary grocery store, if we could get the very nice Ingles, they have a beautiful Ingles with a meat department and deli and everything. They also have a new product. You may not like the sound of this, but they have a neighborhood market. You won't like the second part, by Walmart. It is a grocery store with just food, not t-shirts and not other things that we go to Walmart to shop for, but they have a neighborhood market that brings the Walmart grocery provision to a smaller store in an infill. They're made out of brick and masonry products. They have heavy landscaping. There's one in Snellville where I play golf sometimes that's just beautiful. We would make sure that it's just beautiful. We just need to get one here. Yes, Joe?
Hey, Joe Bridges, what's the decel lane gonna be on, northbound entering in? What's the dimensions of that, and how's that gonna work?
Well, it's 12 feet wide and about 100 feet long, and we have to incorporate in some manner the old George Gravel Road. There's as you know, the bridge is up here in the air, and there's a George Gravel Road that's actually not in the right of way. It's way over here on those lots. And that's the access for those two lots. We're either going to give them lots from behind in the future. The Briarwood property, they're not interested in selling. They have a rather nice wooden house here that you can see it's clean. The yard is kept nicely, and they don't want to do anything with it right now. And this property that's overgrown with trees and weeds and kudzu, they want $1 million for that. So that's gonna sit there a pretty long time. But there is gonna be an arrangement that at the beginning of the Axel D-cell, they're gonna have to be able to turn onto George Ravel. We've we've discussed with Turin that if they want to come into the water tower from the back, we'll dead end the street into it and have it heavily gated. They don't want any access into the yard of the water tower. But the only service here is 2 homes, and I think that can be accommodated. What Joe's asking is, as you come off the bridge, there's going to be about 250 feet. About 120 of it will be a D-cell lane in front of our shops here to turn in. On the other side, it's only about 100 feet of Axel lane to get up to speed to join traffic. So that's something that has to be, DOT had already examined that and said there was no conflict between that's why I have the entrance up here, Joe. I used to have it down here. And I had to put it up here so that we have relief from the bridge and the new
They're
design.
okay with another access, I guess, right there? I mean, I guess they gotta be, I guess.
What's that?
You'll have to have, that George Ravel Road will have to come out.
Yeah, it has to work out
Your
somewhere.
road,
We think that it'll come out into our parking lot. It won't come out to our road. I think it'll come out here. We don't want to destroy the element that's required here of a 50-foot buffer in the front, this zoning. And one of the conditions of the zoning, Mr. Joe, your planner, precision planning, said that we have to have a 50-foot buffer across the front. It's not a hiding buffer, it's a landscape strip where you'll see under it and over it. But that's something that's quality corridor. So I think that this access for these 2, we're not sure about the status of this, if anyone's paying taxes on this one or not, but the Arrowwood, let's call it the Arrowwood estate, we'll have to have in and out.
but on 54 or on your
We don't
road?
know, that'll be up to DOT.
Because they show it, coming out on 54 on their,
In their new plan?
yeah, because the bridge is gonna be on that side, the new bridge is gonna be.
Well, see, they won't need an XL, D-cell lane, they probably would utilize ours if they came out on 54, because they only have 2 residents. It doesn't require either a D-cell
What
or
about the tower? I mean, I know you've got plans for, access, but if that never gets,
Oh, no,
you don't get sewer, it never gets done.
Turin approves our plans in turn, so they can make us give them the road. We plan the road from inside into the water tower.
But if you don't get sewer, they don't get lots either.
Oh, and we don't build our entrance.
Right.
It's a good question, it has to be approved by DOT, yes.
Your main road going in, you said it's an 80-foot right-of-way?
Yes, ma'am, and that's larger than usual, it's usually a 50-foot right-of-way for residential.
But aren't the county roads pretty much 80-foot right-of-ways?
Yes, but not with 3 lane. The county road.
With only a 2-lane road?
What is?
The county 2-lane roads have 80-foot right-of-ways.
Yes, and they have ditches.
Right.
We have a curb and gutter. You're not gonna fall off in the.
Now, are you going to make that 80-foot right-of-way all the way through Turin, into those lots into
No,
Turin?
ma'am, it's only required to be 60 for residential, and that's to have a 24-foot wide road, which is wider than Lower Fayetteville Road is today. And that, you know what kind of traffic is on that. That's a 20-foot wide road, and they put a foot of blacktop on each side. And it falls right into a ditch. We're not doing ditches. We're doing concrete construction curbs. We're doing 3 lanes.
Are you doing sewers on that then? Are you doing sewers for drainage then?
That's storm sewer. Yes, you have to have them at the low points of all roads.
Okay.
And that goes into our stormwater management pond. That's a good question. You know a little engineering there. Where this is at a low point, the water will be piped to a stormwater management pond like here. See, the engineer has to do that. We haven't been able to turn it over to an engineer until we're approved.
So how far does it go that it's 80 feet?
Into the commercial.
Just through the commercial?
Yes, ma'am. I would say to the entrance.
And how far away is the fire department?
I don't know the mileage. I just know they know how far away we are. It was turned over to them for their review. I don't know that number. I wouldn't pretend to know that. We need some glue up. It's about that big. I'm sorry, I'm being a little light here. This is a serious matter, and we really ask for your consideration and your request, on our request of these two different zonings together as a mixed-use village. And if the members of the council have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them or find out the answer for you.
Does anybody else in the audience want to address him with any other questions before
I do.
we go to the, okay.
Yeah, my name is Bobby Valancourt. I live on 146 Williams Circle, 54. I've been here 22 years, September 1st. You started off the meeting by saying about the study on the traffic being northbound, everybody turning right, you know.
Not everyone, but
Well, I mean, you
the
know.
majority, yes, sir.
Yeah, the impact part of it. And the traffic, you know, in all the years I've been here, I've watched it increase. And I'm thinking about the traffic coming on 16 and going, you know, north on 54 towards Peachtree City. So what happens, and the George, what do you call that street?
George Ravel.
George Ravel.
I think that's how it's said.
So subdivision exits, there's an exit and entrance off of George Ravel, is that right?
Right now, all that comes out there is the George Ravel Road, and it's very dangerous looking over your shoulder.
Right. Yeah. I'm just thinking about the impact going north. It seems like it'd be a lot more than what maybe the study said. I don't know if I have a question, but it's a comment and an observation from being here for so long. I mean, what did they, anything in the study about, how do they include the fact that people coming on 16 and up 54, I mean, if they're going back towards Peachtree City, that seems like
You're right.
everybody's going in that direction. It's not just the subdivision.
That's what DOT does. It's a very good question. DOT also knows that you need a roundabout, they're smarter than we are. You need a roundabout instead of a four-way stop, because that's their business. We don't have to agree with that, but it's gonna happen, and I've seen them work really well. But they know that there's 5,554 traffic trips crossing through the intersection at the four-way stop right now, and they know how many go north, and how many go south, and how many go east and west. I don't know that, but when I give them this, it goes into their figuring.
And why, I don't understand all the property layout there, but it was impossible to have an entrance and an exit into Turin, like go across the tracks, like on the 16 just couldn't do it?
No, George Ravel Road dead ends, if you know where Jim Adamson's landscape and materials store is, at North Avenue and 16, that's North Road or North Avenue. Okay, if you go in past his, there's a little gravel road that's not paved. It goes down between he and Tony Crumpleton's house. Tony's on council and Turin. Then it turns left at a right angle, and then it goes north again, or east again, west again, all on a gravel road. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for being here. It's not paved, any of it.
Yeah.
And it dead ends. There's two houses that have fallen in. They're not occupied anymore. And one at the end that's about to fall in that has a large family in it.
Yeah.
And I had to put a zoning sign up there for Turin, and that family said, are you going to pave our road? And I said, no, ma'am, this is a county road. I couldn't pave it if I wanted to. And I told them that we were going to have a footpath that went from the end of that road into our property, but no cars. She said, oh, that's pretty good, because my kids play out in the gravel and so forth, but I have no control over it. That's George Ravel Road's beginning point. Then the railroad, it ends, it's all woods.
Yeah.
And it starts again over by the water tower.
Yeah.
There's no right of way for it.
So the project was not deep enough to, or the land was not available to. I'm picturing back behind the water tower, you know, the subdivision being in.
We are behind the water tower,
Yeah.
down by the railroad tracks is the end of our property.
Right.
The railroads in the United States will no longer allow any at-grade crossings ever.
Okay, that's what I was.
Again, the ones that are there are the last ones that are going
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, okay, that answers my question. It just wasn't about.
I'm not sure if he was on the right. I happened to look at the DOT annual car census since my house is right there at 54, and roughly every March they do a traffic count in both directions.
Yes.
It's currently leveled off at around 9,500 to 900 total per day. It had dipped down at the
Which
height of
intersection is
reception.
it?
Huh?
Which intersection is that?
It's just down 54. It's right at basically Turrentine, and we're just above north on 54, just north where Turrentine runs into it, next to the city on Triangle there, across from the church cemetery. We do an annual count. The last one showed it right at 98 or 9,900, I believe. That's a high. At the height of the recession in 08, 09, it actually dropped down to 6,000 or 7,000, and it's recovered, but it's holding pretty steady between that 9,000 and 10,000 factor in each direction. High traffic is 7 a.m. in the morning northbound, roughly 4 to 5 p.m. southbound in the afternoon, which everyone sort of knows, but that's the actual count from the DOT, which has been flat for the last 2 or 3 years.
That's very good information, and our count is in the hundreds. We're only gonna have, let's say, 65 and 10, could be 67 and 12. Let's say there's 80 houses and a small number of shops. Our traffic count's going to be in the hundreds, and that's at 9,000.
Yeah.
And the DOT, Dan Woods, the DOT agent, stated that there'll be no measurable impact by our community on the flow of traffic, even when the roundabout is finished. And that's what we had to go pay for those studies. And that's why we
Kids
do
are
it.
driving, and the wives are driving, the husbands are driving, and everybody leaves at the same time at night, but I don't think those kids are going to drive.
It's still hundreds at peak. You know, that's when they're concerned. They measure peak.
Holly Garlington, 154 Main Street, Sharpsburg. I do know that the Oak Hall was turned down by the county because of a traffic problem.
No,
Of the, yes, sir.
No, ma'am. It wasn't turned down by the county because of the traffic problem. I did that zoning. It was turned down by the density of that community.
It was mentioned then because I have a copy of the report from the Mr. Trevorrow.
Well, I do too. I think you're making a good observation that the county turned it down. The county has told me, each of the commissioners and the commissioners as a whole, in public hearings out loud, we'd like to see the density in the smaller municipalities. We'd like to deal with horse farms and rurality, whatever that word is, in the county. And I told them that theirs was really sprawl, spreading out over the county. And they said, that's how we got elected, by the people that live out in the farms. We think that the growth should be near the crossroads, near the services such as sewer and water and so forth, and not out in the rural areas. And I said, why couldn't you have any suburban development for the tax base and so forth? And they said, we'd like that to be in the municipalities. So you see that happening all the time. People annexing and getting larger with good planning. It's called the opposite of sprawl. Sprawl is not when you have a subdivision and a subdivision and a subdivision. It's when you have 5-acre lots that keep going on forever. The sheriffs have to cover that distance. The road crews have to rebuild that much road. The water lines have to be sent that far. If you can have 80 houses in an area with this little bit of roads, you can see how the efficiency, the economy of road building is done by the developer. We have to build the roads. Sharpsburg doesn't, the county doesn't, but it gets turned over to Sharpsburg for long-term ownership and maintenance. You don't want a lot of roads, you want a lot of houses per road to pay for them. I hope it's not the word on development, but it is the word of this kind of development. Okay, that this is not clustered, it's not mini lots. These lots are half acres. What you want to know is that it's an efficient use of facilities and infrastructure for quality housing.
And my name is Nancy Schofield, and I have a question about the road. You said it's going to be turned over to the city of Sharpsburg, and they're going to be responsible for all the maintenance and all of the landscaping on that road. Do you have any idea of how much it will cost per year to maintain this road?
Generally it'd be zero for about 20 years. And you'll be collecting all the fees and all the impact fees and all the development fees.
But it won't cost anything to maintain the road?
No, ma'am. Not for
Will it have any lights on it?
Yes, ma'am. That would all be put in by the developer. The curb and gutter and paving will be put in by the developer. The sewer lines, the utilities, the storm drain pipes.
Who pays for the utilities? Who pays for the lights?
The users, the people who use them. This in Sharpsburg, if Sharpsburg determines that they don't have, I don't know what you have now for lights in town. Do you have any lights in town? Okay, if they get the developer put in, let's say, period style lights, real classy lights and so forth, the deal has to be struck then. Who's going to pay for that and what share of it will be? A very savvy council, which you have, will negotiate that and say for a period of time this and for a period of time that. But if you want to have quality development and get it all paid for by a developer, I think some of that hits you down the road a little bit. But all that time, you will have been collecting fees. If the water ends up with Turin, that's fine. We have to make sure that the pipes are substantial. Ours will be new. If the water doesn't end up with Turin, and it goes through Sharpsburg, you may be able to charge a fee on top of the water like Turin does. But that's not any of my business. That's just something that you want to think about. This council knows how to do that. Every member of this council can negotiate at the beginning of this how it's to be done. You're going to review all of our plans before we can do anything. You'll have a consulting engineer who makes sure that the stormwater management and environmental conditions are met. And it'll all be spelled out ahead of time. And these are all very good questions, like some of you are developers. Yes, Joe?
I'm not sure if Ms. Nancy was talking about like, streetlights, the electricity, is that, and then the, you know, the maintenance of the right of way and that kind of cost, I guess. Is there going to be a homeowners association?
Yes, good, very good. A property owners association on the commercial, a homeowners association for the residential all the way through. Very good point. That is who the light bills can be assigned to. The property owners association here can pay the light bills on the commercial road going through there. You require a property owners association here so that if there were separate owners of these buildings and somebody failed to pay their share or they left, as we've seen in a bad economy, it still has to be paid by the overall property owners association. It still has to be mowed and edged and fertilized and flowers at the entrance. They can cut that out in a bad economy, but you know what I mean? It has to be quality maintenance, and the city are the police of quality. They can go say, you've got to mow that lawn, or we're going to mow it, and we're going to charge you for it. And that's not going to happen when you have a property owners association.
One last question. On your septic sewer system with the wastewater, how many acres do you need? Is it going to be standard, you know, 300 linear feet, 7-foot centers, like a normal septic tank, plus whatever they gauge in the usage, or?
I don't know those numbers. That's really not my specialty. I'm not an engineer or a sewer engineer. There's an acreage number for the number of units. Newton Utilities will figure all of that. Whatever sewer system that we are involved with will either be owned by Coweta County Water and Sewer, or designed, built, operated, and owned by Coweta County Sewer and Water if it's at 12 parks, or designed, built, operated, and owned by Noonan Utilities. There will not be a fly-by-night developer trying to run a sewer system on these properties. That's not allowed anymore. Every jurisdiction, including this one, requires that it be owned by a publicly purviewed utility company. Now, you can go out and compete. There's other utility companies, but I believe in local is better if there's an emergency. I wouldn't want to get a guy from Marietta because he was cheaper than Noonan Utility. I don't believe that would make any economic sense at all. And again, all those things have to be approved by the town of Sharpsburg.
Are there any other underground sewer systems like that in the county that puts the?
I'm not sure if there's the new form of decentralized sewer. There are some shared septic systems.
Right.
There's one behind the Publix at Thomas Crossroads. Noonan Utilities took that over, even though it's in the county. I think Noonan Utilities runs the shared septic system at Oaks of Turin, which is working very nicely now. They had to set aside quite a bit of acreage for it in the back there. This kind of system is different. We're not putting wastewater into the ground. We're putting clean water.
Right, no, but you're not doing spray fields, you're gonna put it underground.
That's correct.
But I'm asking, do you know if there are any other of those already existing in the county?
I don't know that. I'm not sure.
How's it gonna be clean when it's over there?
There's a cleaning system. There's a cleaning station. It's an aluminum building that cleans all the water. It's stainless, not aluminum, stainless steel. Noonan Utilities came and gave a talk about it at Turin, and that's all I know about it, is what Dennis McIntyre spoke about. It's a beautiful stainless steel building, doesn't rust, doesn't fail, and so forth. They are responsible. It's monitored every day. Somebody's job is to go there every day. And there are alarms on a computer. If something is going slowly or something stops, there's alarms on computers there. It's very scientific, and I won't pretend to know how it all works, but it's well received.
Is
There
that
are
on
systems.
your plan there, or where's that building gonna be?
No, it's gonna be where we have the good soils, and we have several options for that, but I can't negotiate that until I know how many lots and how much commercial I've got, so I can't do anything about it yet.
So this is a proposed plan?
Concept plan.
Yeah, yeah. So the development, the building out of the commercial buildings, that's contingent on a person coming in and giving the money, saying, I want you to build this for me?
No, sir.
Who's
That
building?
would be done by a commercial developer who will build all the
Okay.
buildings
Yeah.
and try to lease them.
Right, okay.
Yeah, you can't build it a shop at a time. That's a good question, but you can't do it
And
that way.
you said the average size is 16 to 100 square feet?
No, that was the required minimum house size in Sharpsburg,
Okay.
1,650 square feet. We feel that's not big enough
We were going to two.
for new houses.
Yeah.
There's some smaller ones that it's ideal, little cottages I like. My house is modest and it's twice that size.
Right. So the minimum size square footage for the homes?
For a shop, these shops
Well, for the
are
homes.
like 10,000 square foot buildings broken up into 24-foot wide shops. But if it's a restaurant, it might want 2 of those sections. It might want this cafe I've drawn on the end where you are on the east side of the building so the setting sun doesn't bother you when you have umbrellas and chairs and a coffee shop or an outdoor cafe.
I'm really asking about the price of the homes and the size of the square footage of the homes.
Okay, the homes will sell anywhere from $120 to $140 a square foot. That's what it costs to build a craftsman-style masonry product with hardwood floors and granite countertops and all those things that people require.